All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We're talking about the Detroit Lions in tonight's video. So I want to talk about the defensive back room because Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw, new addition, Carlton Davis, Amik Robertson. It's a completely, obviously Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, Melifanu. It's a really deep room, and it's completely different than it was last season. And it kind of has me thinking back to the Detroit Lions of last season at this point in time. I remember, covering the Lions in the summer, training camp, preseason, whatever it was. And I forget who you guys were practicing. I think it was actually the New York Giants 1 year ago. And like one of the first, maybe it was the second day, one of the first days of the joint practices, the rush defense got just bombarded. And I remember thinking to myself, not really anything. I think the Detroit Lions defense should be just fine, right? It's just a joint practice. We're just in preseason. Like, guys are ramping up, guys are injured, guys are banged up, guys are trying to get healthy. You get the whole deal. Joint practice lit up defensive wise against the rush. The Lions were one of the best defensive rush teams in the NFL last season. And it just has me thinking, there's something about this DB room that has me so freaking excited. So that's what we're going to talk about in tonight's video, guys. Before we get into it, I just want to say really quickly, shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this video. Check out my link down below. We'll throw an ad up in just a second here. It really is. If you're looking for a new sports book, it really is the best option in my opinion. And I've got a link down below if you guys want it, or it's pinned in the comment section.
Video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
Michael Vick here at BetUS.com. Get it all. Huge bonuses, great odds, a race book, live in-game betting, and a casino. BetUS, my online sports book and casino.
As always, hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Appreciate you guys as always. The Detroit Lions last season went 12-5, and it was just freaking beautiful. 12-5. I don't care about the Detroit Lions record this upcoming season because all you need to be focused on is a Super Bowl victory, right? Home field advantage would be beautiful. Home field advantage, if we go back to the NFC Championship game, I'm so sorry to even bring that up, but if you go back to that game, if that game's in Detroit, it could have and probably would have gone a lot differently, right? But my point is, the only thing I have, not even question marks, because that's not the right word I'm looking for, but one of the more, kind of like up in the air positional groups for the Lions is the defensive back room. And it's mainly because you brought in a new addition in Carlton Davis from a trade. You brought in Amik Robertson. Emmanuel Mosley got re-signed. Unfortunately, he got injured. And then you drafted Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw. So your cornerback room is going to be those four 100%. And then you got Vildor, you got Dorsey. We'll wait and see. And, I know Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw got banged up this week. And who knows if they're going to play in your preseason game tomorrow. I didn't check. My point just is they're going to be good and they're going to be ready to go for week one. And it reminds me so much of the Kansas City Chiefs defense from a couple of years back. I forget, of course, his name is just kind of fading while I'm making this video, but the Kansas City Chiefs 2 years ago, before they won their first Super Bowl, from the last two seasons, not their first Super Bowl, you get what I'm saying. Their defensive back room was extremely young. It was littered with rookies and just kind of question mark players. And as the season progressed, that group got better and better and better. And once the playoffs hit, these guys stepped the F up. And obviously they won their Super Bowl, and then they just won another one last year. And I'm looking at cats like Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw, and I'm thinking these are going to be day one impact players. Now, Carlton Davis is cornerback number one, and he's a little intriguing to me. And I just want to get the cat out of the bag here. Regardless of Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw, they both should be fine to go for week one of the regular season. Kind of question marks. It's just, we're in training camp, we're in preseason. Injuries, as long as it's not significant, they don't really worry me. But Carlton Davis is a little bit interesting because he's missed multiple games due to an injury every season. So that's just, I would like them to go out there and get a solidified veteran cornerback, even if he's just a depth player. Last season, Carlton Davis missed 5 games due to a concussion. He also had toe and groin injuries. He has never played more than 14 games at any point in his NFL career. PFF graded him terribly last season. 63.1 overall grade. That was 68th out of 127 qualifying cornerbacks. He had a 55.8 pass rush grade. That was 70th. 63.3 coverage grade. That was 68th. 66.7 defensive grade. That was 64th. 43.3 tackling grade. 104th. The stats are not good for Carlton Davis, but like if you're a Buccaneers fan, or even if you remember that Detroit Lions game against them, Carlton Davis steps up when he needs to in stats. I always want to take stats with a grain of salt. So technically, Carlton Davis had the lowest graded overall and coverage season of his entire NFL career. But then when you get into the playoffs, he was phenomenal. Over the first 2 games of the postseason, sorry, if I said preseason, Davis posted a 76.2 overall grade that was tied for 4th among corners, 78 grade coverage, 5th among corners, 72 run defensive grade, tied for 7th among corners, 82.5 tackling grade, 5th among corners. So my point just is he stepped up when he needed to step up, and I just wouldn't look too deeply into statistics. But my only concern with Carlton Davis is durability and health. If he misses a couple of games, well, that's why you need to look at cats like Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw. Both of these cats in their first preseason game about a week ago absolutely balled their asses off. And obviously Detroit coming into the off season, Jesus, I apologize. They needed more help in the secondary because Cam Sutton had some legal issues and you guys released him, and actually a lot of Lions fans were excited. But the Detroit Lions allowed 34 completions thrown at least 20 yards downfield last season. That tied with the Houston Texans for the second most in the entire NFL. Arnold's selection, round 124, that was the second time you guys have taken a defensive back in the first round this century. The other was Jeff Okudah at number 3 in 2020. Obviously, that didn't work out, but neither here nor there. And then in the second round, you drafted at pick 61, Ennis Rakestraw Jr., who once again balled his freaking ass off in your first preseason game. This is the first time in the common draft era that you guys have taken a defensive back with each of your first 2 picks. All right. Now, Detroit's defense last year allowed 28 passing touchdowns. That was the 6th worst mark in the league. That was the 5th straight season they ranked in the bottom 10 in passing touchdowns allowed. Rakestraw Jr. allowed 1 touchdown all season last year at Missouri, SEC. Both of them are SEC. This is NFL caliber players, right? Rakestraw, 1 touchdown all season. Granted, he was only targeted on 8% of his coverage snaps, but once again, this is a Detroit Lions defense that allowed 7.8 yards per pass attempt last season. Only the Bengals at 8.1 were worse. Rakestraw allowed 13 completions on 22 attempts this past season at Mizzou when targeted, but keep in mind, only 5 of those attempts were attempted on passes thrown over 15 yards or more downfield. So my point just is, Terrion and Ennis, especially those 2 young cats, they might struggle and they might have some bad coverage here and there, but don't worry about the regular season. If you ask me, the Detroit Lions are probably going 12-5 once again. It's a little bit more of a difficult schedule, and scheduling records, I'm going to take it all with a grain of salt. But my point is, if Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw Jr. can step up like the Detroit Lions know and think they can, well, that's the biggest flaw with the Detroit Lions. So you kind of get where I'm going at here. A Super Bowl feels kind of potential here. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but that's all I have for tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Once again, shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this video. Check out my link in the description. Check out my link in the pinned comments. And that is it for me. Let me know what you think about the defensive back group for the Detroit Lions at the time of this recording.